MarkWHO42 would like to welcome one of our sponsors, Highlander Novelties Comics and Games. They are run by my good friends Christian and Wendy Gillespie. Christian, they are good people, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I was just about to say, I was like, I don't run that store. Or the other Christian.
Highlander Novelties is a one-stop shop for pop and geek culture items.
Yes.
They specialize in the unique and throwback characters from the past and present. They've got comic books. They've got decals for your car. They've got signs. They make them themselves. You should visit them at 364 Story Road in Ocoee, Florida. That's like right outside Orlando, isn't it, Christian?
A bit northwest outside of Orlando. Yeah, we were very excited to be part of the grand opening that they had out there and are even more excited that they've joined the family of sponsors here at MarkWHO42. You can check them out on their Facebook site. Again, as Mark mentioned, they are in Ocoee, Florida, located at 364 Story Road. Check out their Facebook site for their business hours. Check out for also any specials going on. I believe on their site they're having a special on October the 28th for Halloween Comic Fest.
Yes, they're having the Halloween Comic Fest 2017 and costume contest on the 28th. Just look up Highlander Novelties in the search bar and you'll find them. And please don't forget to tell them MarkWHO42 sent you.
Hi, I'm James Gallaghan, a sound designer for Big Finish, and you're listening to MarkWHO42.
Welcome to MarkWHO42 on Krypton Radio. Hi guys, I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and with me today are...
Christian Basil, front and center.
Iggy Matthews, get out of my stage light, Christian, get out. Hi.
And we've got a special guest. We thought we'd bring him on this week to sit in with us for the news. The showrunner of Space Coast Comic-Con, which is coming up next week, not this weekend, but the following weekend, Mr. Jake Estrada. Hello, Jake.
Yo, how you doing?
Hi, Jake.
Yo, what's up?
Hopefully not us this early in the morning.
Not us. We're sleeping. We're sleeping through this episode.
Coffee.
We have a great show for you this week. I mean, you know, we always say we have a great show. We do. We always have a great show, so I'm allowed to say it. I'm allowed to say it over and over again.
Absolutely.
We have got...
One more time.
It's a great show. We've got James Callahan on the show. A bunch of you are going, who's James Callahan?
Huh?
Well, I'll tell you. A sound designer from Big Finish Productions. He's done a few of them so far, and he's going to continue working for them. We've got him on the show this week. The reason we have him on the show is because he's going to be a guest, and sorry, Jake, for throwing this in front of you, at Time Lord Expo in Dayton, Ohio, the weekend of October 13th through 15th.
Jake knows we go to other conventions.
We do. Jake knows we do other conventions, Jake. But we love your emo, Jake. We love your convention.
The exclusive right of one convention to have us is a little bit of a hefty fee. I'm just warning you ahead of time.
Yeah. Well, I can paint Twinkies, guys. Remember.
Okay.
So let's go to... MarkWHO42 News with everybody on the show.
Yay!
And now, let's go to MarkWHO42 News. Woo! Yeah, I decided not to list our names again because I thought that was too self-serving. Okay.
It's not on my name, though.
Actually, Jake, you get to comment on the news and say how bad we are. Or how good we are, which you will say because...
I like to look at the negative.
No, let's not be negative. Let's be positive. We should be positive.
I like how this is very passive aggressive. Like, you will comment politely on the news, or else
Jake,
nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to happen. But
so who wants to go first? Who wants to go first?
I know you wanted to start positive, but we just want to make sure that our friends and fans over in the Gulf area, especially in the Texas area, that have been hit hard by Hurricane Harvey. As we're recording this, the hurricane is still in the path of Texas and the area drawn up. They were there, and we just want to wish all of our hopes, our prayers. And
I have to say, on a positive point, though, I saw pictures of some of the damage. It doesn't look as bad as they were expecting it to. They thought it was.
Well, yeah, it certainly was no Katrina.
Worse. It wasn't a Katrina. It wasn't an Andrew, which I lived through in '92. It was more of a Hurricane Wilma, which is bad. It was bad, but thank God it wasn't as bad as predicted. But at the same time, I don't want to underplay it to those who live in the area who have lost houses and things. And I want to give my positive feelings towards you, and you will survive and will go on.
I personally have family in Texas, and I know personally, living in Virginia, that there's when the hurricane comes around, there's that frantic panic of like, oh my God, I got to go shopping, and I got to get this, and I got to get that, because you're worried about, just everybody being safe.
Eggs, bread, and water. That's all you need. Eggs, man. Eggs make the world go right.
Well, will eggs survive without the refrigeration?
We just eat them raw, bro.
Oh, you eat them raw?
No, there is such thing as powdered eggs. That's what I grew up on when I was growing up in Puerto Rico.
No, you're right.
Anyway, we just want to say at this moment, MarkWHO42 wishes everybody the best who's in the affected areas out there over by Texas, and everybody who's in the path of this storm. We wish you well, speedy recovery for everybody. I did hear the news that unfortunately there was one fatality at this moment.
Oh, my God.
Hope the best for you out there, and we give all of our love, hopes, and prayers to all of our fans and friends and families out there. So, guys, just be careful as this hurricane continues on.
I know what you're going through, Texas. And I also know that Texas is the yeehaw state. And really, they can persevere through this, and they are going to do what they do best and survive. So, yes. Yay, Texas. Boo, Hurricane Harvey.
On a side note, what kind of a name is Hurricane Wilma? Like, that's a little messed up.
What kind of name is Hurricane Harvey?
Well, Hurricane Harvey.
Wilma.
Hurricane Wilma is like, is it Hurricane Wilma Flintstone?
No, it sounds like will my house flood, or will my house, or will my car float away? Like, Wilma sounds horrible. There's people out there throwing puns out the wazoo.
Well, it could have been Harvey. It could have been Harvey.
Jake, tell me I'm wrong about this, and I'm taking a page from the comedian Lewis Black on this one.
Right.
Harvey is not a hurricane storm. Harvey is a guy you buy insurance from.
No, it's a rabbit. It's a rabbit.
Harvey is a two-faced SOB, okay?
Harvey is also Family Feud, so just saying.
Oh, Steve Harvey. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's different.
If Steve Harvey can host Family Feud, we can wish those in the Gulf Coast and Texas.
So we want to wish everybody the best out there. Please be careful. Please be safe.
So moving on to a much different topic, it seems that there will be some old-ish companions coming to the Christmas episode of Twice Upon a Time. It does seem like there's going to be some oldish companions, and by oldish, I'll explain. They're going to be returning from the past to join Doctor Who on this Christmas episode. So Jared Garfield of Hollyoaks will be playing Ben Jackson, and Kingsman Secret Service actress Lily Travis will be replacing Annika Wills in the role of Polly Wright. Basically, I thought that was pretty cool. You're taking old companions and recasting them, and the likeness is pretty cool. Like, it's pretty spot on.
You know why they're doing this? Because at the end of the final episode of Series 10, when David Bradley comes in as the first Doctor, that's the 10th planet. That's at the end of the 10th planet. And the companions during the 10th planet were Ben and Polly. So you couldn't just have the Doctor and not Ben and Polly. They had to do something. And it was either use old clips and colorize them or recast.
Yeah.
And they did pretty good.
Well, it also depends on what the story is about, because he is on the planet, but it could have taken place way before his regeneration. Depends on what's going on here.
The scene that he's going, if you listen to his words, it's the point where he's going back to the TARDIS to regenerate into Patrick Troughton. So they've just defeated the Cybermen, just like Peter Capaldi's Doctor has, and so that's kind of Twice Upon a Time, if it's that too.
So you're stretching it.
There's the interesting question is, do we think that these companions are going to be just like their past selves, or are they going to be just like the Doctor, because it's just the same yet different, but maybe, I don't know. This is definitely a new spin that they're throwing into the mix, along with the female companion and all that buzz coming around. It seems like they're doing a lot of interesting, ice-breaking, like breaking the mold type of thing. And I welcome it. I think this is absolutely awesome.
It's fun.
It's fun. Yes.
Well, like I said, we don't know what the story is, so the whole story could take place way before the first Doctor regenerates. It could be a scene to be a discussion between when the Doctor is kind of hobbling to his TARDIS, but he stops and sees the 12th Doctor.
No, I think there's going to be a big adventure, and it's going to be a team-up with Capaldi and the Hartnell crew, and the untold story dovetailed in the last 5 minutes of the 10th planet. That's how I see it.
Because we saw it in the trailer, so we knew. But before that, we didn't know anything.
No,
we just know he was walking around.
It could have been a delusion that he had, that he was talking to himself in the middle of regeneration. It could have been many things. But you're right, we have seen the trailers, so we've kind of cheated that way. Yeah.
Cheaters.
Thank you, Jake. I appreciate that.
So, Jake, have you seen the last episode
Yes.
of Doctor Who so far? And seeing the first Doctor, what did you think?
I was excited, man. When I saw it, I was like, yes, I can't wait.
It's going to be an interesting adventure. We know they go on an adventure. We don't know if it's in his mind. We don't know if it's in a separate reality. We know that time has stopped wherever they are, and that Mark Gatiss is somehow involved as always. So,
Yeah.
speaking of doctors, I'm going to read this from the article because I want to make sure I get this crystal clear, and I don't want to misinterpret everything, but Christopher Eccleston was on Sky News doing an interview, and he had his thoughts about how working in his industry now that he had a disadvantage and he had an advantage, and I'll just read the article a bit there. Chris talks about how the working class background puts him at a disadvantage to the boys club that he quote-unquote mentions, public school educated actors. Chris also claims that film, TV, and theater of the UK does not reflect modern and multicultural society of today. Now, the interview goes on further to say is a change not met with controversy, and that this is something that needs to happen. And we just want to let everybody know that the views and opinions that Chris are offering are not necessarily those of MarkWHO42 or any of its affiliates or sponsors. This is just his opinion about the industry itself. So go ahead and give it a listen when you get a chance. Ben.
He's not the first British actor to say this, or international actor, or even American actor to say this.
Well, he's not. I think he's the first Doctor to.
He's the first Doctor to go on a limb. I think you're right.
Now, first of all, there is a video of this interview at MarkWHO42.net. The title of this is "Who Tells the Truth," and it is the interview with Christopher Eccleston talking to Skype News about that.
What brought this on, though? That's what I'm trying to go. Like,
that's a very good question. I think it has. I get the feeling it has to do kind of the controversy of the 13th Doctor now that she's a woman, and I think that brings on some things into light here, because as much as we have new Doctors who come into fruition, and we go through that jokingly meme with the regeneration cycle. I hate him. I'll give him an episode. I'll give him 2 episodes. Oh my God, he's great. Oh my God, he's leaving. No, I don't want him to go. And then we start that regeneration cycle.
Yeah, and we all act like that cycle is not there. Like we're not victims of that cycle. Everybody does that. You listeners out there, you do this.
But when it came to Jodie, that cycle was taken to an umpteenth power, because now it had to do with the role being handed over to a woman. And now it seems, it depends upon, do we keep things simple? Do we start afresh and anew? Do we ride upon the story, that's left open that it is an alien and they can regenerate anything? What's the definition of Time Lord?
Yeah.
All of this is now on the table, where it didn't have to be if they had not changed it into a woman. I'm not saying this in a displeasurable way. I'm saying that now this is all on the table, whether we like it or not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. As soon as you say change something major about any character, this isn't just Doctor Who. You change anything major about any character, turn the Terminator into a female, there will always be controversy. So, I think that this is very much a fair conversation. You got to understand all of the sides of it, and a lot of things are going to get brought up to light. But definitely, Chris's point is an interesting angle that does need to be researched upon a little bit more in depth before commenting.
Yeah, so
on it.
People should definitely, if they're interested, watch the video and get it directly from Christopher's mouth.
Jake, you saw that minute clip with Jodie Whittaker, the announcement that she was taking on the 13th Doctor. Is that right?
Yes, I did.
What did you think about that when that finally hit? What was the first thing that went through your mind?
I thought that it was cool, and it will create new and interesting, engaging stories, and that a lot of people would be happy to see that for a change, that at least they were going out trying to do something original with it. But then, like you said, the backlash on it was tremendous, and you're like, what's wrong with society? But then I went and I looked on the news, and that's why, we have Trump as the president still.
Oh,
Well, what would your reaction be if somebody who grew up from the day that William Hartnell took on the role and stayed with the series up until number 12 and said, I'm feeling uncomfortable about this, if this person had an open mind, how would you approach that person to try to adapt to the 13th Doctor?
Well, like you've been talking about, right? More or less, the character is an alien that shifts into different types of characters. He shifts from one guy to another dude to another dude. So, being an alien, how come he hasn't shifted into a Klingon next? Think about it, though. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It opens a gateway now. I mean,
absolutely.
The Doctor can become a non-humanoid. So that door is open there. And I don't know if you're familiar with the Peter Davison controversy. His sentiments kind of resonated. People of the classic series is like, listen, I don't appreciate that it's a woman, but times have changed and all that. But he got ripped just as bad as Jodie got ripped as being the 13th Doctor from people who I think, I was just like, wait, he has an opinion and you want to rip him for that?
The way he came into it, though, he came in kind of wrong, though, when he sounded like a angry old man, get off my lawn type.
You think so?
Interesting.
It must be that Scottish stuff.
He was drinking his own Scottish drinks and probably was drunk when he wrote it and said it.
So you think it wasn't from a good standing or a good opinion? You think it was more of an opinion that wasn't?
Yeah.
You have to remember, though, the interview with Peter Davison, it was a question that was thrown at him at a convention. He didn't have time to think about it. He just said what was on the top of his head. Since then, he has backpedaled, and I shouldn't say backpedaled. He's rethought his answer, and he thinks that it could work. He just feels a little bad about the possibility of his first answer.
And that's what's good about life, because we're allowed to think one thing, and over time we're allowed to change our opinion.
Exactly.
But the way society has drifted, most people say, no, that was his first opinion, and blah 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 blah. He's wrong. And that's the problem with social media too.
Yes.
We're living in a time where people think the first thing you say is what makes you, and that's not true, because as people, we slowly evolve.
Yeah. Well, I guess the also question is that when did he know about it? Because if I was a classic Doctor and I know Jodie had just taken on the role, I had to think about it. I couldn't just sit there and just not think about it. It's just like, okay, I go to these conventions and I know what they're going to ask now. What do I think about the 13th Doctor?
It wasn't that long before the convention that it was announced. So he didn't have that much time to think about it. And even if he had, like Jake said, your first opinion is not always the opinion that is your final opinion and your true opinion. Right. And that's why I think 24/7 news cycle and social media does hurt certain people, because they say something without thinking, and that's their record. It's on record, and that's what they say, and it shouldn't be.
Yeah, and then you get called a flip-flopper because
right.
You know.
But now, is he doing it because he's appeasing a base, or is he doing it because that's how he feels?
See, and that's exactly the type of mentality that stems from different commentaries. It could be easily the fact that he warmed up to it, or that, he got more information from it. So, I mean, it's easy to go, well, he's only trying to do it for this and that, because that's how the media presents it to be. Like, well, you were just saying this, and now you're shifting over to that. So what changed? Who are you trying to appease now? Because, you're famous.
Well, here's the thing. And Jake, tell me about, what do you think about this? First of all, it's just an opinion. He's not going out there and advocating for the 13th Doctor to be, Jodie, she needs to leave. He gave an opinion, which doesn't hurt anybody except for the person who can't take the opinion. That's how these things are. Exactly. That's the other truth. And like, when does it become a crime to have an opinion that goes against the status quo? Isn't that what's great about the society we're supposed to be living in? That I can say, no, I don't like Jodie being the 13th Doctor, and I'm going to skip that.
Yeah, and and that's your right, and it should be your right, and it should be your right to voice your opinion.
Absolutely.
But most people don't want you to have an opinion. They want you to be a lemming.
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be a sheep and follow the flow, because otherwise you upset the balance and stuff. And that's great. And I'm all about upsetting the balance, because, deliberately before, in a group of conversations with several peers, I've deliberately just said the wrong thing just to stir the pot, because I'm like, you guys are so rattled by nothing.
Well, you're a stand-up comic. That's your job.
I have to.
That's your job.
It's just like...
Yeah.
Well, like I say, to me, the people who attack Peter for his opinion are no better than the people who attack Jodie because she's got a new job.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's the bottom line to it. Now, people, you can take for what you will, but yeah, the media doesn't report media anymore. It reports stories.
Yeah,
and
story in the pot.
Yeah, and in some cases, they want to trigger what the story says.
Yeah.
And that's awful. And why can't Peter have that opinion? I mean, like, well, if you don't want to hang around Peter anymore because he has an opinion, that's fine. But to crucify him for that opinion, just to have an opinion, that's really sick about this society right now. Because if you do have an opinion, if you do vote for the wrong person for president, if you do have a thing that, now we have to rip you apart on a character assassination basis. Yeah. And that is not cool. It is not fair, and it's not right.
No, it's not.
It's so undoctorly, because if you watch Doctor Who, which I find it ironic that all of this pervasiveness is coming out, because, when you watch Doctor Who, it's all about helping each other. It's all about making things better and fixing things and working together and loving each other. And that's what we love about Doctor Who. And then for us fans to turn around and fight in the name of Doctor Who in a very fashion that is against what we watch and love and appreciate, the irony is insane regarding that. So maybe let's try to take a step back and look at what's happening before you get too ahead of yourselves, because it is okay.
Well, even when we do reviews of episodes, people will come up to me and let's say we reviewed an episode. I'll make it The Sleepers or something like that. I'm just making up an episode.
Well, make Rings of Akatan, because that one we...
Okay, The Ring... if that makes you feel better, The Rings of Akatan.
I'd rather talk about that one.
I really gave it a bad review. And seeing upon it a couple more times and then looking at the doctor's speech, I wouldn't say changed my mind, but I got more information. I got to sit with it a little bit longer. I didn't see it from one episode perspective and then give a review. But people are going like, oh, it's better than you think. And so, would you change your mind now? And I said, no. I changed my mind now, but back then I do not change the way I felt when I felt back then, because that's how I felt.
Right.
And that's what it was. Now, maybe today I got more information. I've watched it, sat out a little longer. There have been more episodes, but I felt that way at that time, and I'm not going to excuse myself for that because that's what I felt.
Guys, you know the website Funny or Die, right?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Now, have you heard about this new show they're doing called Mystic Cosmic Patrol?
Yes.
Oh, you have? Okay. Well, you want to talk about it? No, anyway.
Oh.
No. It is created, starred, written, and the executive producer is Gavin Hignight. He is someone who has written for Avengers Assemble, for Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the new series, and the old one. He's written for Ultimate Spider-Man. He's written for Iron Man Armored Adventure. So he's got some creds. And he's put together this new Funny or Die series, which is basically taking what the new show coming out, The Orville, and Galaxy Quest, and putting them together and making a space show out of it. And there's going to be Doctor Who things and Power Rangers MST3K. It looks like a great show. Someone who's in it who I like a lot, Christopher Masterson, is going to be in it. Jake, did you ever watch Malcolm in the Middle?
Yeah, I watched a few episodes.
All right, you know the older brother, the one that kind of hardly ever interacted with the rest of the cast?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he's in it. He plays Jack the Blue Patrolman. And there are other people in this, including Tim Russ from Star Trek Voyager. Tuvok is going to play Gorgon. And it looks like a very funny show. And it's out already on Funny or Die. And we've actually, at MarkWHO42.net, have been kind enough to put the first episode, or rather the first half of the first episode, because I think they're going to be cliffhangers where the Doctor Who part comes in. The first story is called Potty Mouth. Now, I wonder what that's
So they named the episode after this show.
After this show. The second story that they have is called Time Crisis. I think that's where more of the Doctor Who influence comes in. It looks like a pretty cool show, so if you want to give it a chance, come to MarkWHO42.net or go to Funny or Die's Facebook page for updates and their own funnyordie.com for more of that. It looks like it's going to be a funny show. Any other news, guys?
This one is not quite as pizzazz as the other news articles, but it seems that Star Wars is coming out with their own app, and it has a little bit of an augmented reality. On that article, you'll see that it says Star Wars Go. However, this is not one of those Pokemon Go. It's
But
there will be no
where we got the
catching
title from. We ripped them off.
Yeah, well, there's no catching enough clone troopers and upgrading them or involving them into things that can actually hit their targets. This is very much more like a fan app where basically you can get news and developments and you can take interesting selfies. They do have an augmented reality section in there, and I'm not entirely sure what it does, but the video has been posted on MarkWHO42.net where you can see the trailer of what exactly the app provides and does for you. And it does kind of have an Ingress sort of look because for those of you who do not know, Pokemon Go came from Ingress, which is still a Niantic game. So it has very much that dark and futuristic look to it. I'm sure it even has the same sounds. So I'd be interested to see where this is going, but right now it really just more looks like a fan app where if you're trying to constantly stay updated on what's happening in the world of Star Wars, this would be the app for you. So you guys, if you have the app, let us know.
There's a lot going on.
There absolutely is, and I can see the use for it. Unfortunately, I myself will not be downloading that app because I picked the MarkWHO42 app. Who wouldn't? But
you can have both. We don't tell you that you can't have both.
I honestly, I don't feel the need for it with everything that's going on with Facebook, Twitter, and just all the different news sections that we have. I don't feel the need for an app to constantly be there giving me updates and stuff because unfortunately, I am not that much of a Star Wars fan, but I know several people who are that might actually be interested in this. So I don't know. For those of you who do download the app, let us know how it works and what is the catch with this? Why do you like it? Why do you have it? Why should I download it? Come on.
You can make selfies with some of the characters from Star Wars.
See, and that's cool and all, but I'm going to do that. I'm going to take all of the selfies in literally 5 minutes, and then I'm bored with the app. That's my problem with that.
I see what you mean.
And then zap a Pokemon on the way there. Stormtroopers attacking Pokemon. You have Pokemon Go and Star Wars Go taking
I'm not
taking
using the Stormtroopers. They will miss every time.
Yeah, Star Wars, all the time, anywhere.
Jake, did you ever do that Pokemon Go thing out there? Did you ever try that?
No.
Thank you. I appreciate your honesty, and I agree with you 100%. I don't actually agree with that.
People sound a little
I've heard that
with
people
it.
enjoy it. I've heard that people
It
have
is
a great
fun.
time
Thank you
with
very
it.
much.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I've heard that
God.
people do enjoy it. I'm just not a Pokemon fan, so it didn't make sense for me to get it.
And I'm getting really sick of this. Okay, it's Pokemon.
Is it Pokemon?
There is no man here. There is no man. Pokemon.
Pokemon with an O?
Oh, yeah, it's Pokemon.
And here's the last news story. We have a poetic doctor in our midst, and it would be Sylvester McCoy. And again, we'll be seeing him, sorry, Jake, at Time Lord Expo in Ohio. Trust me, we're going to give you some time on yours there.
Seething.
Get a strip out. Here come the plugs. Anyway, Sylvester, along with the BBC, is celebrating 70 years of the Edinburgh Festival. The festival is where people keep up with the latest BBC shows and live events coming up in the year. You can check out the events if you happen to be our friends in the UK area, bbc.co.uk/Edinburgh Festivals. There is a clip at MarkWHO42.net entitled A Poetic Doctor from BBC Radio 4, where Sylvester is quoting from A Window in Prince Street by William Ernest.
It kind of goes like this. Above the crags that fade in gloom starts the bare knee of Arthur's Seat. Rigid high against the evening bloom, the old town rises street on street. With lamps bejeweled straight ahead, like rampired walls the houses lean, all spired and domed and turreted, sheer to the valleys darkling green. Ranged in mysterious disarray, The castle menacing and austere looms through the lingering last of day, and in the silver dusk reverberated from crag and scar, bold bugles blowing points of war. Okay, so it probably sounds better with a Scottish accent and Sylvester reading it. But I just thought I'd share that with you because that's what he is going to say. And we have him actually. If you go to our website,
spoilers. Jeez.
If you go to our website, you can hear Sylvester say that, and it probably sounds much better than what I just gave you.
I think we can agree that any of the doctors currently living, if they read the phone book to us, will probably sit there on the YouTube for about an hour or two. Any doctor,
but if I do, the showrunner and creator of MarkWHO42 do, people will snore in their presence.
If they haven't already done it already.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate that.
Never gonna turn.
And Mark, that would be the end of our
Rickroll me. You are not going to Rickroll me, young lady.
You just got Rickrolled.
No Rickrolling.
And Mark, that happens to be the end of our news segment. Again, all these articles are at MarkWHO42.net. Join the conversation and join the WHOniverse Army at MarkWHO42.net. You can also continue the conversation on our Facebook and Twitter pages at MarkWHO42. And MarkWHO42 lives on Facebook. So there you go. And this news segment of MarkWHO42 has been brought to you by Cosplay Convention Center. You can see more information about them at MarkWHO42.net. The great thing about this is they are a database for cosplayers, for practically anybody who works in the convention limelight. If you're looking for us, they have a database that not only narrows down where we're going to be, but if you're looking, let's say, for Doctor Conventions in your area, Doctor Conventions in general, or other genres, you can go to their site and you can go into the database, narrow down your search to locations that are close by to you. It's a wonderful database tool to use if you need information about your favorite genre, your favorite podcasts, where they're going to appear, all of that. Check it out for yourself. Go down to MarkWHO42.net and click on the icon for Cosplay Convention Center. You'll be glad you did. Tell them MarkWHO42.net sent you.
Jake, thank you for sitting in with us on our lovely news segment of the show this week.
Thanks for having me here, guys.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we are going to have, from Big Finish, the composer, James Gallaghan. We'll be right back.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more MarkWHO42 after this.
And I'd like to say right now, MarkWHO42 is proud to have 9.9 Comics as a sponsor for our show. 9.9 Comics, if you're out in Brevard County, this is one of the places to go and visit. They've just started recently, and they're located off of 1284 Sarno Road in the Melbourne area. They're starting out, but I met Matt and the team, and they are just really, really, as far as customer service is concerned, phenomenal. It's a really great store. They were telling me about a point system, Mark, and forgive me, I'm not familiar with it, but that's where the 9.9 comes from. When you go to a comic book store, some comics are just laying out there loose and for everybody to read and such like that. And every time somebody picks it up, it kind of depreciates over time. Not in this store. Every comic is protected. In fact, you can't even read the comics. They're all protected for your pleasure. So if you want to keep these comics for longevity and possibly later on try to sell them to make money off of them, they have every comic sealed up and protected. It's just phenomenal. Not only that, but one of the things I love about this comic shop is they sponsor the Candlelighters of Brevard. Now, these folks are a nonprofit organization that take care of children in the Brevard area who are suffering from cancer. So if you want more information on them, go to www.candlelightersofbrevard.org. If you want more information about the charity that they sponsor, and definitely go on their Facebook site at 9.9 Comics. Can't miss it. Matt and the team are wonderful. Go visit them out there and tell them that MarkWHO42 sent you.
Hello, I'm Nicholas Briggs, the voice of many monsters on Doctor Who, and executive producer of Big Finish Productions. And I'm pleased to announce that MarkWHO42 Books have joined forces with Big Finish to bring you Big Finish Audio.
There's this fella who calls himself the Doctor, and he says he has saved me, and we are in his time machine.
You all right? I think I've broken something. What about you?
Yes, I'm fine, thanks.
I rather think I broke your fall.
Oh, sorry.
MarkWHO42 Books will now offer to bring you the best in Big Finish audio.
But why are they here?
How do you do?
I beg your pardon?
Oh, no need to. I'm the Doctor, and this is...
I am Leela.
By all means, please do come out to play, Doctor. I'm waiting for you.
To find where MarkWHO42 Books will be, go to MarkWHO42.net or on their Facebook site at MarkWHO42.
What are you saying? They fizzled in somehow? Like the TARDIS?
Yeah, transmat from another dimension. The TARDIS doesn't fizzle. It's more of a...
Also go to MarkWHO42.net and download my interview with the team.
You're executive producer at Big Finish Productions.
Correct.
Correct.
Is this a quiz?
MarkWHO42, taking you to the WHOniverse and beyond.
Jamie Engel was on our show the other week, and she is our newest member of the MarkWHO42 sponsored family. Jamie Engel is an award-winning author of science fiction and horror novels and stories. The Toilet Papers, a book that she wrote, is a collection of short stories ranging from 50 words to more than 5,000 to match your bathroom needs. But here are some other facts that you may not know about her. She cosplays Marty McFly Jr., Wonder Woman, Garth from Wayne's World, and Trinity from The Matrix. She speaks to kids about bullying and to authors about writing and marketing their books. She once owned a body shop, managed a hip-hop band, and danced at the Aloha Bowl halftime show. Wow, that's really cool. But without coffee, the world would end. So definitely you should read some of Jamie Engel's work, and you can if you go to her website, therighteangle.com. THEWRITEENGLE.com. And don't forget, follow her on Instagram at therighteangle.
Hello everyone, I'm Elliot Chapman. I play Ben Jackson in Doctor Who The Early Adventures and the Companion Chronicles for Big Finish. And you're listening to MarkWHO42.
Welcome back to MarkWHO42 on Krypton Radio. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten, and with me, of course, is Zion Kiros and Christian Basil.
Yes.
Yeah, and we have a special guest. And I say special all the time, but this time I really mean it. And how many times have I said that?
Wait a minute, this time you really mean it? That's not going to fly with the other guests we've had.
The other guests. Well, that's why I tell them that they're the best.
Sophie altered your girlfriend. You weren't really
Sophie,
that.
Sophie might be mad, so maybe we won't call. We'll just say our guest, James Gallaghan, who works for Big Finish Productions. Hello, James.
Hi. Hi, everybody.
James, at least I have listened to some of your work on Big Finish, the Companion Chronicles box set, the Second Doctor Volume 1. But for those people who don't know who you are or have never heard anything you've done, can you tell us a little about yourself?
So I started many, many years ago working in sound. I was one of the first people actually to do music technology here in Britain when it was set up in the 80s. And I kind of took to just be really interested in kind of sound effects and things that really interested me. So I'd be often told off at the dinner table for tapping things and playing around with different sounds and stuff. So
you're one of those kids.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah, and from there I developed into doing music and things at school and moved on from there. I was never the greatest musician in the world, but I was great at composition because, of course, composition means that you can sit there and do as many takes as you want to get it right because I've got a good ear for different sound. So I started then putting together mostly kind of songwriting when I was younger.
Oh.
So I used to work with different bands and play keyboards and bass and drums and all sorts of different things. And from there, I was in a band for a number of years, travelling around the country, playing parties and festivals, that sort of thing. And we needed somewhere to rehearse, so we set up our own rehearsal studio, and it formed into a business from there. So we were then doing recordings of local bands and music and stuff. And I wanted to go from that to do a bit of media work. And I thought, how can I combine this? How can I get people interested in that? And because I'd got an interest in Doctor Who as well, what I decided to do was to do a fan film.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got a load of people together, and we put together a little fan film. And I bought myself an 8-foot TARDIS, as you do, put it all together, and did all the music and the sound effects and everything on there. And from there, that's where Big Finish picked up on that, because a lot of people who started in Big Finish, people like Nick Briggs, started off doing kind of fan stuff. Before he moved on. So they became aware of what I was doing. So they said, can you send some stuff through? I sent some bits and pieces through, and had to do an audition past that. And then you kind of sit there for months and months and months wondering, is anything ever going to happen? And then suddenly out of the blue, you get an email saying, hey, we're doing this Companion Chronicles CD. Do you want to be involved? At which point I go, yeah, okay.
Of course.
So it just went from there, really. And I've been doing that amongst other things ever since. So I just freelance for Big Finish. So every so often they'll contact me and say, can you do this job for us? And I pick up from there.
You've intrigued me with this fan film. Is it on YouTube? Is there any way?
It is on YouTube, yes. Yeah.
Where can I find it? I want to see this now.
If you look up the Basement Film Group, put Basement Film Group Doctor Who, it will pop up. But there's a short film, and it's about 10, 12 minutes long, and there's several sort of documentaries that go with it as well, showing you how it was all put together and the sort of stuff we were doing at the time. Yeah, so if you pop that into a search bar, you'll find it.
Cool.
Actually, James, I'm actually the greatest pianist that ever lived, but anytime I'm behind a piano, my 3-year-old self banging away at a Fisher-Price keyboard shows up out of nowhere, and I got to give credit to all those people who have the amazing talent like that there. Being with Big Finish, were you a Doctor Who fan before you got the gig?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah,
who's your doctor?
I mean, my main doctor was Peter Davison.
Okay.
I was probably about 10 when Peter Davison took over. But I mean, my first recollections of Doctor Who was Tom Baker in The Hand of Fear, and I can remember, everybody talks about hiding behind a sofa. I actually broke a glass door because I was in the living room and it came on the telly, and Sarah Jane was in the TARDIS. If you've ever seen that scene where the hand crawls across,
yes.
Frightened me to death, and I legged it to the back of the room. We had a big glass door, and I went straight through it.
Oh my God!
Wow!
All right, you're not going to believe this. I just went to YouTube. I already am a subscriber to the Basement Film Group. I have.
There you go.
I've seen this. This was good. I liked it.
Well, there you go.
Okay. I was hitting the button, and it says, "Do you want to unsubscribe?" And I'm like, "I'm a subscriber." Oh, now I know what we're okay. Oh man,
a lot of that happens when people, when you become a fan of something, or you start liking something on a Facebook page, and it's like, hey, like my site or like this site, or if you like Doctor Who or Big Finish, this site is the one for you. And I go, okay, I'll check it out. And then lo and behold, later on, like a year later, we'll do an interview with somebody from that production, and they go, oh, you already like our site? And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh well, I'm not keeping up with things, aren't I? Really screwed.
Let's talk about the Companion Chronicles 2nd Doctor Volume 1. You got to work on 2 of the episodes. I know that Richard Fox and Lauren Yassin were also sound designers, but you got
correct.
To work on 2 of them. Tell us about the 2 that you worked on.
I was actually only worked on one of them.
Oh, you only worked on one? Okay, excuse me.
Yeah, it was the first one, which was The Mouthless Dead.
Yeah.
That was the one that was set in a railway station.
Yeah.
So I actually went off to a couple of local stations, because we've still got some vintage railways that run not far from where I live, actually. Mm-hmm. So I went down there, did a bit of recording, picked a few ideas up from there, and kind of tried to visualise what they wanted within the script from what I could see in this place, because they run, it's called the Severn Valley Railway, and they run steam engines through there all the time. So I wanted to get the smell and the feel and the sound of it, so I could then bring that back and kind of produce something very similar.
Yeah, okay. James, what do you have a passion for specifically in your life?
Oh gosh, that's an interesting question. I think for me, my passion is to be invisible, to be honest. Which it's not a superpower. Well, what I mean by that is that I like to, with the work that I do, be so invisible that people don't know who you are.
So you want to be like the Bernie Maupin of things? Would that be an accurate description?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when you produce this work, if nobody knows who you are or you're not noticeable, then you've probably done a good job.
And I apologize, I should describe this to our friends. If I said the word Bernie Maupin, nobody probably knows what the heck I'm talking about. But if I say Elton John, everybody will jump on board. Well, Elton worked with this guy named Bernie Maupin, and he is an incredibly talented person, but he kind of just stays in the background. I'm not exactly sure why he wants to be, but he let Elton be the front runner and the guy to be.
That's right. Yeah.
Kind of been like the background guy. So I was just trying to relate it to people what we were talking about.
That's a good description. Yeah. When you're trying to put something like this together, the minute that you become visible is usually the negative side of it, because people will pick up on that doesn't sound right or that's not quite correct. I mean, I've done a lot of work as a sound engineer working with bands on stage, and the audience's attention is of course on the band on the stage. The minute something goes wrong, everybody in the room turns around and looks at the guy at the back of the room. So suddenly you've got everybody's attention there. So by being invisible, you've done the best job possible.
I can relate. There's sometimes when we do things or projects and stuff like that, or when I've worked on projects, I didn't want to be the front runner. And forgive me, I think I said this wrong because I don't want people ripping on me. It's Bernie Taupin, not Maupin.
Yeah.
Because now I'm sure letters were starting to write as they were listening to this and going like, "Oh, Christian." And
well, now they have to just hit delete on their word processing.
Yeah, there you go. So
you needn't worry about that. I was doing an interview for local radio yesterday, and the chap who interviewed me said, "So tell me, what's it like working for Big Fish?"
Well, it's very wet. And
how dare you talk about Nicholas Briggs like that?
Exactly, yeah.
Nick Briggs would have a ball with that one.
Quick question. So, with The Mouth is Dead being set in 1920, and it's kind of hard dealing with sounds and getting the overall feeling of days past. Exactly how much harder is it to make sounds for a time that's well past rather than a time frame that's like right now?
It's very, very difficult. So a lot of it, you kind of have to reinvent it. There's different elements with putting together Doctor Who stuff, because the science fiction side of things is actually a little bit easier because you're creating something nobody's ever heard before. When you're trying to recreate something that people are slightly familiar with, you've got to be very, very careful with the sounds that you create. So in order to produce that, I was using the sounds of the trains, but not necessarily anything else. So the rest of it was created using sound effects and Foley work within the studio. So you didn't pick up sort of noises of cars going past or people talking, that sort of thing. So yeah, it was quite tricky to get that together, but it's just part of the job. It's just one of those things you have to work with and try and find the best way around it.
Christian, just to let you know, The Mouthless Dead, that was one of the ones with the new Ben Jackson, Elliot Chapman that we listened to when we interviewed him. Yeah, I enjoyed that one very much, and knowing that the sounds, and you do the music too, right? You're not just doing the sound effects, you're putting the whole sound production together, right?
Yeah, I mean, yes, you do sometimes. I mean, on that one, Benji actually did the music for that one. But yes, you do.
Atmosphere is basically
you. That's
that,
right. Yeah.
That was a really moving story, and you did a great job, I gotta tell you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was trying to get that sort of atmosphere for it. It's almost like a ghost story, really. So you've got to kind of think of in the terms of things like, I don't know, sort of almost Hammer House.
Yeah, it definitely felt like Hammer film. Yeah.
In its construction. So it was slightly different for a Doctor Who story. A lot of people said it's one of the scariest stories they've ever heard, certainly from an audio point of view. I don't know whether that's true or not, but...
I don't think it was the scariest, but it definitely was scary. It definitely was moving as well.
Yes, yeah.
When did it finally hit you that when you were working in production, that like, I'm working on Doctor Who? When did it finally kick in and go, I'm working on Doctor Who? This is part of my life now. When did that?
It was really strange because when they first asked me to do it, I had a message come through on Christmas Eve. So it was probably the best Christmas present I'd ever received. But I don't think it ever dawns on you. I think, there are so many different stages. So when you start working on it, you just...
Right.
You're under such pressure to get it. I mean, you could be working on it till sort of 2, 3 o'clock in the morning because you've put together an edit and the director comes back with a long list of things saying, no, I want it done like this, I want this bit changed. And and I think sometimes they don't understand how you kind of process these things. So it's almost like a knitted scarf. Think of a knitted scarf as long as Tom Baker's. And you get
it's a nice
and
analogy.
You want to change one bit in the middle of it, you've got to unstitch so many bits of it just to get that one element to kind of fit together. There are many times you get an email and you just feel so deflated because there's just this one bit they want changing, and you've got to shift so many different stems around on the computer just to get that bit working. So once you're thrown into it, it becomes a job that needs doing. And I think then you kind of breathe a sigh of relief, and then when it comes out, that's, I think, when it hits you. You go, oh my God, I produced this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm part of this now.
We had an experience just slightly similar at SuperCon when some of us got to take the stage with actually Peter Capaldi.
Yeah.
And I got to be right next to him, and it didn't even dawn on me. I mean, I knew he was there. I acknowledged, and we shook hands. But when people started throwing the photographs at me, showing me on stage with Peter, that's when I'm like, oh my God, I was on stage with Peter.
You were.
This is all over the internet, so it happened.
Yeah.
I've got a couple of links with Peter Capaldi actually, because he was born in a little area of Glasgow called Postle Park, which is where my father was born.
Oh.
Right in the same town. My father's a bit older than Peter, so there's that. But my cousins who live up in Scotland, they're a couple of musicians, and they used to be on the same bill as Peter when he was in the Dream Boys.
Oh, yes.
Oh, my God.
I love well, I shouldn't say I love... I love their music. I hate their name. I hate their name. Dream Boys. It sounds like it's the wrong thing for a punk band. It's just wrong. I'm sorry. The music is good. The name, they should have changed it.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm sure there is a male strip group called the Dream Boys somewhere.
And there was actually there was another band called Dream Boys that it was just... So you get confused, and it's just wrong. And the Full Monty thing does come to mind when you think Dream Boys. Okay.
Yeah, we have a convention that we used to go to that the convention name, if you typed in the wrong name, it didn't go to their sci-fi convention. It went to a polygamous convention.
Yeah, in Atlanta, Georgia. So I was going through the net, as I do before these interviews that we do, and I came across a business site that you run called The Basement Studio. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, sure, yeah. So this is the studio that I set up when I was in a band, and it's a rehearsal studio and recording studio over here in Dudley in the West Midlands. It's the #1 recording studio in the area. We've got 4 rehearsal rooms, a recording studio, and a bar as well. So we spend many a night sitting in the bar.
There you go. I'm looking at the link. I'm looking at the menu bar, and it says bar, and I click on it, and I get very thirsty. I get very thirsty. It's Cutler's?
Cutler's Bar, it was named Cutler's Bar because we opened a music venue a number of years ago, and the first band due to play there was one of the bands that rehearsed at the studio with a guy in the band whose last name was Cutler, and he passed away literally a week before the gig, so it was built in honor of him.
I think there's certain occupations where I think they should have bars at the location where they work. Theme park bar and airport bar and government building bar. What's that?
They do have theme park bars.
Yeah, no, I mean,
Talon wouldn't have a job if there were no theme park bars.
On the job. I think it would make things smoother. Yeah, exactly. Gotcha. So you can just have a bad day, just go to the back room and just drink your cares away there.
Yeah. So if you want more information on this basement studio, go to thebasementstudio.co.uk, or you can, I guess, call you directly. This is a British number, so if you're not 07979 653-412. James is the bookings manager, so you'll be talking directly to James, just like we are here on MarkWHO42.
And speaking directly to James, you're going to be in Dayton, Ohio with us at Time Lord Expo October 13th.
That is
to the
correct,
15th.
yes.
Will this be your first time in the States?
It will be, yes.
Oh,
first
really?
time.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, first time ever, yeah.
We might have to take you for a drink.
Sure, yeah, I look forward to that.
Celebrate America, and really, I'm not sure what. Well, no, I'm sorry. I'm just a little worried about this country.
James, come to America, get wasted, have a celebration.
Yeah, basically that's what you need to do when you come to the States, get wasted.
Yeah, well, I'm part Scottish, so I know all about getting wasted.
All right.
We're going to talk more about that, folks, at the end of the show. But yeah, Time Lord Expo, October 13th and 15th. Get your tickets now at TimeLordExpo.com. It's taking place in Dayton, Ohio. And of course, you're going to see James up there with a plethora of Doctor Who talents, as well as if you get the special package with Tom Baker. Wait, I just said I was going to expend. Never mind.
You the other show. But if you go to MarkWHO42.net, on the right-hand side of the screen, there is a big banner poster that'll take you directly to the ticket page. James, we're getting close to the end. I know you have to go. Can you tell us a little about what you have coming up that we should be looking forward to?
Okay, so I've done the short trips for this month.
Oh, good.
Which is Wendy Padbury narrating on it, called The British Invasion.
Yes. I noticed that on the thing, yeah.
And then I'm not quite sure what I'm doing after that at the moment, so because I've got a few projects I'm running here at the studio as well, because we're doing a kind of anti-bullying project with local kids and stuff, so that's taking a bit of time. Okay. So, but I've let my producer know I am available as and when for the next project and things. So I'm waiting for the next one to come in.
All right.
Awesome.
Definitely going to put out an order for the British Invasion.
Yeah, it's a really good story, that one. It's set at the British Festival, Festival of Britain, which was 1951. So it's a 1951 story.
Oh, okay, cool.
And again, folks, if you want to use James's recording studio, The Basement, check out thebasementstudio.co.uk. James's phone number as booking manager is online, as well as more information about the 4 recording studios and the rehearsal locations and the recording studio. Please, by all means, check them out.
And they can find you on Facebook. Do you tweet?
I do tweet, yes.
I take that back now that I realize you're on our show. You must tweet, because that's Christian's favorite way of communicating with people. All right.
How are you doing, Sophie? What are you doing this week?
Exactly.
Would you like to go to a bar?
I'm one of what only claims to fame is I've got 2 people on Twitter that follow me back. One is Sophie, and the other one's Katie Manning.
I will be adding you to my Twitter list. I added you, I think, to Facebook, and you accepted, so thank you.
Yeah, sorry. I've actually been talking to Sophie about when we're over there in America. Because Patrick's asked me to do a bit of a show while I'm there.
Oh, good.
So I think that's going to be on the Saturday night. So it'll be a sort of music show. I used to go around being a club singer many years ago, so I'm going to revive that for a...
did you like a lounge singer, or...
Oh, yeah. I used to do all the Neil Diamond.
Oh, yes, I'm there. We'll drink after. We'll get the drink after the show.
Yeah. So I've been speaking to Sophie and Rosie as well. They may get up and do a turn.
Oh, wow. That is great. I cannot wait for Time Lord Expo. I'd like to thank James Gallaghan for coming on MarkWHO42. Thank you, James, so much.
No problem at all.
And we'd love to have you back whenever you have a new project or something, and so that we can talk about it on the show.
Okay, no problem.
We'll be right back after these words here on MarkWHO42.
This portion of MarkWHO42 has been brought to you by Harlequin Cosplay and Crafts. You can go to our site right now, MarkWHO42.net, and click on her icon. Make sure to use promo code MarkWHO42 for free shipping of any of her cosplay images and merchandise. And you will see Amelia Poole, yeah, that's her real name, Amelia Poole, who runs the site. She's going to be at the Space Coast Comic-Con and a lot more other conventions coming up on the Space Coast. She usually hangs around there in Central Florida. Gorgeous woman. Absolutely gorgeous. You got to see her Harley Quinn cosplay. You got to see her Dana from Ghostbusters. just a beautiful woman on that. And she actually does some crafts, including, I guess, what they call the Cobb hat, the Firefly hat that Jane Cobb uses. She's got merchandise up there. Check it out. Tell her once you see her anywhere, MarkWHO42 sent you.
Don't go away. Don't go away. We'll be back with more MarkWHO42 after this.
Hey, Mark, are you busy?
Well, I'm kind of doing my podcast right now, honey.
I want to show you this website. I saw these cool things at Florida SuperCon, and the website is www.drwhocrystals.com. You know my birthday's coming up.
It is. Let me type that up right now.
So do you see this? They are laser engraved crystals with pictures of the Doctor in the TARDIS. I want one for the living room. I've always wanted to have a TARDIS in the living room, but I've always been afraid that it's going to look like a,
But, these look really good. I mean, they're 100% crystal, and it looks like Peter Capaldi. And I know that at Florida SuperCon, these guys, because I did meet them, and these guys got the rights to Peter Capaldi's likeness. They've had the likeness of the first and second Doctor. They've made them. Really want one of these?
Yeah, I've heard that they work closely with the BBC to get the pictures just right, and you really have to order one. It only weighs about 3 pounds. It's a real thing of beauty, okay? It looks elegant, and you have to check it out. Their website is www.drwhocrystals.com, and they are so affordable, Mark, that I want one for my birthday. And then, in a couple of months, the holidays are coming up. Get one for me then, too.
You got it, hon.
The voice of Christian Basil, take 1.
Hi, I'm Christian Basil, and I would like to provide my voice for all your voiceover needs, such as...
Okay, like an announcer.
Like a what?
Like an announcer.
For all your voiceover needs, such as animation, radio, announcements, introductions...
Now an old man.
I can even record voicemail for all the Meshuggahs that call you.
A pirate.
Arr, and it won't cost you a lot of treasure for me services. Arr.
Creepy movie voice.
Just call 407-761-2679. 407-761-2679. Or email voiceofchristianbasil@yahoo.com. Well, how was that?
That's a wrap.
MarkWHO42 is proud to have Famous Faces and Funnies. This is a huge, mega comic book store. I mean, they just have literally tons and tons of comic books, novelties, everything. They're located off of 3020 New Haven Avenue in West Melbourne. And if you want to give them a call and just let them know MarkWHO42 sent you, it's 321-259-3575. But this thing is just a huge, I mean, you've seen comic book stores and nothing against them, but you've seen them, these tiny little shops, and they have comic books and they have merchandise and memorabilia and such like that. This place is like the best term I can put is the Costco of comic book shops. So you go from one store and there's another section, and it's just huge. They have Funkos. They have tons and tons and tons of stuff in there. I mean, it's hard to explain. But if you have any geekdom out there, Famous Faces and Funnies have got it covered for you, from Doctor Who, Star Trek, Star Wars, everything. And also Rick is the guy who runs it, and all the team over there, nice, friendly people. Definitely want to check out our friends at Famous Faces and Funnies in the West Melbourne area if you're out there.
Hi, my name's India Fisher. I play Charlie Pollard in the Big Finish Doctor Who series. I'm companion to the 8th Doctor, the 6th Doctor, and now I'm running around on my own with my own lovely companion, Robert Buchan. You're listening to MarkWHO42, and I hope you have a lovely day.
And we're back with more of MarkWHO42. I'm your host, Mark Baumgarten. With me today are Christian Basil, Iggy Matthews, and we still have Jake here. Hey, Jake Estrada. And I think it's time for me to hit the music, Christian.
There you go, sir. Yes. And here's something that's a little new. I'm going to have some help from our hosts this morning. We started with Patrick for Time Lord Expo, but Jake, I'm going to have you start off the convention announcements. Tell us more about Space Coast Comic-Con taking place September 8th through the 10th at the Space Coast Convention Center in its 3rd year. Go for it, sir.
Right. Yeah, Space Coast Comic-Con is coming back. We're going to be back in the same venue that we were in last year for a second time in a row. Over at the Space Coast Convention Center, over in the Holiday Inn Express, right off of exit 201 off of 95 on 520. We're having the Spacey Awards again, the second annual Spacey Awards.
Yes, I wanted to talk to you about that. We are getting the second one, right? We are getting the second.
Wow.
We got the first one. We're getting the second one, right? Is that how it's working? We're coming to collect the Spacey Award, right?
Yes. Maybe, I don't know, No, I really don't know.
This year you don't know. Last year
that was
you would have
smoother
been
than
able
butter.
to. Last year he would have been able to say yes, but this year he doesn't know because the judging is different, right?
Yes, the judging has changed, and so there's that out there, and then we're going to have escape room. This year, we're happy to join us. The people are going to be able to have some fun with escape rooms. We're having legendary John Beatty, who was a classic Marvel artist, coming out there. We're also going to have a friend, someone called MarkWHO42, come out.
Yeah, I heard they were going to be there. Yeah.
Whoa, they sound awesome.
They do.
What?
Yeah. Especially one guy who looks like Snarf. No.
And you know what? I heard that the traveling TARDIS was going to be missing.
It is missing. It's in my back pocket. I walked out with it.
Oh, Christian, how'd you do that? You lost a traveling TARDIS. What are we going to do?
Apparently, the story goes, as the legend puts it, that the traveling TARDIS has already set coordinates for Space Coast Comic-Con. The Zyton crystals exploded in the chamber, and now somewhere out at the Space Coast Convention Center, the traveling TARDIS is lost, so we're going to have a big, monstrous scavenger hunt in hopes to find my TARDIS back.
I hope we find it.
And if you've been watching the Facebook page for Space Coast Comic-Con, you've been seeing that the traveling TARDIS has summoned up all the best people and heroes and investigators from the universe to help find them, and we're summoning up people who are going to Space Coast Comic-Con. Everyone's invited.
Now, what if someone finds it and doesn't want to give it back to you?
That'd be terrible.
See, he didn't figure this out when he set this up. He didn't plan this in ahead when he should have.
We're going to meet behind the Space Coast Convention Center.
There'll be a little kind of fisticuffs going on there.
It'll be protected.
Yeah.
You know, we'll find somebody to protect it while others go searching for it, and hopefully people tear the show apart.
Yeah.
It's all right. I'll go on a rogue mission.
So this convention is going to be September 8th through 10th?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, in Cocoa, Florida. I love Cocoa, Florida. You know what I can't wait to do? Friday night, I want to go to that steakhouse because they're not open at night on the weekends, but I want to go to that steakhouse in the train.
Grandpa Steakhouse.
Grandpa Steakhouse. They're open till 9 o'clock on Friday. So I got to
Oh my God, they even run on Grandpa hours.
Yeah, they do run on Grandpa hours. And it's in a train. It's an actual train. If you smell something a little off, it used to be a Ringling Brothers elephant
I thought that was true.
yeah.
They had a long convention, and I thought
the steaks are good. Maybe they're elephant steak. I didn't think about that.
You know, next time you lead with that, it's Grandpa Steakhouse, and if you smell something a little off, the first thing that came to my mind was Grandpa. Okay.
Grandpa's still in there.
Some proud sponsors.
Don't change your pajamas, man.
They're not proud sponsors of MarkWHO42, so I can rip them apart. Okay.
Both interrupted.
It's the sequel to Girl Interrupted. Is Boy Interrupted over here.
Boy Interrupted.
Some of the proud sponsors of Space Coast Comic-Con are also sponsors of MarkWHO42, including 9.9 Comics, Famous Faces and Funnies, The Infinite Mushroom, and Space Coast Comics itself out there. You can get free comics by visiting the locations where Space Coast Comics is at.
Yeah, and if they listen to the entire ending credits of our show, they can find out where to get those Space Coast comics just by listening.
Don't go to the creepy van in the back. That is not where you can get them.
We don't tell you that on the credits. We tell you where it's located. And they're also located in Chicago, not just in Florida.
Our next convention coming up right after Space Coast Comic-Con at the end of the month will take place September 29th through October 1st at the Tampa Bay Convention Center. It is MegaCon Tampa Bay. We are returning to host panels. We will have a booth out there, and we will be with Alex Kingston and Malcolm Merlin himself, John Barrowman, and I'm hoping he's had a speedy recovery. I know he's been at a convention or two since then.
Yeah, he's doing much better from what I understand.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Also confirmed there is James Marsters from Buffy and Angel, and of course Star Trek legend James T. Kirk himself, William Shatner. So, and a plethora of people.
Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes and Silent Bob.
I'm dying! Okay.
There you go.
And we've got another great convention that I think you all should run out and get your tickets. You can go to MarkWHO42.net and click on the banner for the tickets. It's Time Lord Expo in Dayton, Ohio. Yes, in Dayton, Ohio on October 13th through the 15th, there are going to be so many guests at this Doctor Who convention. Not only will MarkWHO42 be there, and Yes, they're the biggest name that are going to be there. There's also going to be Sylvester McCoy, Sophie Aldred, Neve McIntosh. We've got James Gallaghan, who we just interviewed a few minutes ago. Is that a coincidence? We've got Terry Malloy is going to be there. Who else is going to be there? So many people.
How about Daniel Hoffman and Ian
Cartmel.
McNeice?
Right, Ian McNeice
Andrew
is going to be
Cartmel.
there. Simon Fisher-Becker is going to be there. Oh my God, it's so many Doctor Who guests are going to be there, and one very special one that you
forgot Caitlin Blackwood.
Caitlin Black. Oh, I love Caitlin. But special tickets are being sold for an event that is going to happen 9 a.m. that Saturday morning on October 14th. We are going to have a live Skype interview with Tom Baker, the legendary.
Shut the front door.
Yes, the legendary Fourth Doctor is going to be there, and Patrick Baumgartner and myself, Mark Baumgarten, no relation, will be hosting that. And we need
no spelling either.
We have to get, well, it's a wrong spelling, but like we said in our interview, it's possible that on Ellis Island they change their names. We could be from the same family. We don't know this to be true, and it probably
no. It's technicality. It is not, because you are Mark Garten, which implies that you have the garden, and he is Mark.
He's the gardener.
He's the gardener of your garden.
So he works
There's
for
the difference.
me. I like that. He works for me.
Explains the weeds.
So anyway, that explains the weeds. You're off the show for now on, Christian. So anyway, it's going to be great, but they need questions, because Tom Baker needs his questions in advance, and so. If you have a question that you want to ask Tom Baker and him to answer at Time Lord Expo, go to the Facebook page of Time Lord Expo and post the question. Let them know this is a question you want Tom Baker to answer, and maybe it'll be one of the ones we ask at the Skype interview. It's going to be great.
Now, an addendum to just recent events, sadly, we do have to mention that Paul McGann will not be at Time Lord Expo, but we do have a great announcement. In his place, Michelle Gomez, Missy.
Woohoo!
Yes!
All right.
Yes!
Is going to be at Time Lord Expo there in Paul's place. So she will be there with Sylvester. I got to see her chase Sylvester around the room.
Oh, I'm going to be filming that. That will be on our YouTube page. You know, you can listen to MarkWHO42 on YouTube. Did you know that?
What?
You can go to MarkWHO42's YouTube page. Yeah. We've got all of our podcasts on YouTube. I mean, you just look at a screen that stays static, but you can hear us, and it's really cool. Another place to find MarkWHO42.
And speaking of which, Mark, you have one more announcement.
Yes, I do. We've got Time Lord Fest New Year's Eve Ball going on New Year's Eve in Tampa, Florida. It's a Ken Spivey production. There's going to be music. There's going to be panels. There's going to be a radio play done in front of everybody. There'll be dancing. It's going to be a fun event. There's an open bar, so you can get drunk. It's New Year's Eve. Why not? But it is also family friendly, so, I mean, you can bring your kids. They just don't have to drink, Just
But Mom and Dad do.
So I just want to put that. Mom and Dad have to drink. And, of course, the New Year's toast will happen. We'll probably all sing Auld Lang Syne at midnight. So it's going to be fun. We'll have more information on that convention in the weeks and months to come, because that's, December 31st, so it's got a while. This was a good show, guys.
Yes.
I promised a good show. I promised a great show. I think I delivered.
We.
Well, yeah, I know I. The royal we. Okay, I'll put the royal we. We have done it.
The royal we.
The royal we. It's basically when the queen has to go to the bathroom, she makes the royal we.
Oh, my!
See, I can be a stand-up comic, too.
Oh, my God.
I've taken my lessons from you, Iggy, and I've learned how to tell a joke. I've learned how to tell a joke from Iggy and Patty.
Jake is writing down the reason why MarkWHO42 won't win Spacies. Royal we.
The Royal No, this is already after. They've already judged. So this one is for the third one that we're going to win.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Good luck for that one.
Don't forget to listen to us on Krypton Radio 4 times a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. And go to our iTunes page and please review us. We will read your reviews on the air. We've done it before. We'll do it again. So don't forget to go there. Where else can they find us? Oh, we mentioned our app before, the MarkWHO42 app. You can listen to us on. You can listen to us on iHeartRadio. You can listen to us on Florida Geek Scene. We're
everywhere.
Great.
We're everywhere. I mean,
everywhere.
You're just not looking hard enough.
Go to MarkWHO42.net and join the WHOniverse Army. We've got Doctor Who news and other science fiction news there. We gave you the news from there on our opening of our show during the news segment. It's a great day and great time to be a WHOvian, and MarkWHO42 is proud to be able to help bring that excitement to you. Would like to thank our guest, Jake Estrada. Jake,
thanks for having me, guys.
We cannot wait until next week for the wonderful convention that you throw, Space Coast Comic-Con, and for the Spacey Awards. And, you know, even if we don't win the Spacey Awards, I think we will, but even if we don't win the Spacey Awards, we still love you guys, and we thank you for inviting us. So, any final words from our guest and or Peanut Gallery?
Final word is, I hope Christian wears his pants, man. Really, please.
Yeah, that is important, and that was an embarrassment last time, and we apologize for that.
Yeah, I don't know what you were thinking with the spandex, dude.
Yeah.
I really don't know.
I was cosplaying as the Church of the Papal Mainframe, and nobody kind of got it at first, but they were wondering about my dangling
Christian, when you go to the pool party, no Speedos, please. Wear trunks. I'm just saying.
Well, the last time we did a party, Christian rolled through with a Speedo to the tune of I'm Sexy and I Know It. It was
That's
bad.
Right.
My hat. Too sexy for my hat. So sexy. Okay, anyway. Until next time, folks. So long from MarkWHO42. And, as I must say, because I'm contractually obligated to, have TARDIS will travel. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
MarkWHO42 is written and presented by Mark Baumgarten, Christian Basil, Patty Hawkins, Iggy Matthews, and Zion Kiros. This episode was edited, directed, and produced by Mark Baumgarten and co-produced by Christian Basil. Visit MarkWHO42.net, where you can register and become part of the WHOniverse Army. We can be contacted by email at mark@MarkWHO42, subject line, ? If you'd like a chance to be a guest on our radio show, send an email to our Media Relations Director, Christian Basil, at markwho42media@yahoo.com. You can have MarkWHO42 entertain at your next event or convention. Go to heroesonhand.com/MarkWHO42. Space Coast Comics is a free monthly magazine found in over 120 locations currently throughout Brevard County, parts of Osceola, Volusia, and Indian River County in Florida, and available in Chicago. Follow them on Facebook to learn more. Doctor Who and its properties are owned by the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation. This show is owned and copyrighted by MarkWHO42 Enterprises, LLC, 2017. This is Krypton Radio.